going?
Hey man, yeah. It's worktastic.
Bit of a printer party. Woo!
Yep.
Hey, nice pants.
Oh, thanks. Japan. Japan. I got them in Japan.
They're amazing. You could call them Japan.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the new guy?
Yeah, no, he just started yesterday.
I should introduce myself to him. Hey there, mate. I'm Carl.
Carl. Mark. Great to meet you.
Mark, well, welcome. We'll have to take him out for a beer.
Oh, I would like that. Yes.
Sorry, his name's Michael.
You're like Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he thinks your name's Mark, though. So.
Oh, yeah, Mark. Mark. I mean, I'm happy with that.
Not sure I understand.
It's just a bit of confusion. His name's Mike, like Michael.
Ah, right.
Yeah, but Mark. Mark is fine. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
No, I know it's all, sorry. I just had to interrupt because he's got the wrong name. He was saying Mark.
Yeah, Mark. That sounds like Mark. Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Mike. I did the visa application, so.
Okay. So Mike.
Yeah, and you're Carl, right? Carl.
When you say that, is that Kyle, like Kyle Sanderlands, or?
Oh, I don't know who that is, but yeah, Carl, right?
I'm Carl, like Dr. Carl.
I don't know who that is either, but I think that's right, like Carl. And I'm Mark. Is that right?
Do you think Pistorius did it?
I don't know, man. I can't help you with that.
Hi, we're at Northcote Social Club. I'm talking with GL. Hi GL, it's
Good.
Graham and Ella.
Yes.
That's where they got the G and the L from. This is their album Touch. And what is this?
It's a finger and a mouth in a shoe.
Hand.
Ah, that's
Mouth.
very Cape Fear.
Mm.
How you going?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming in. What are you guys... So I know that you both play in different bands, besides GL as well. How do you negotiate all of that?
Trial and
Logistically.
error.
Yeah, trial and error. I mean, yeah, sometimes things do clash, but most of the time it's all right. Things seem to work
Yeah.
each other. And also, you know, some of the bands that we play in together are kind of doing the same things. So the other day, Dorsal Fins were in Brisbane and we were doing the same festival as them.
But other than that, is it like a Gmail calendar that everyone looks at? I want to know really logistically.
Yeah, some bands do use iCal, but you know, I've got an Android, and so I'm useless. So they have to send me an extra calendar, and so yeah, with the
Communication is key.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that. And tell me about your writing style. I understand it's a collaborative sort of thing. Is that correct?
Yes.
How's it work?
I predominantly make the tracks, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know, it might only be a sketch before we get together, and then once Ella's started adding to it, we take it somewhere new together.
Yeah, I'll add lyrics, melody, chords, we'll do it together or turn it into a song kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw you guys play recently, and there were stage dances and there's projections. Is this a regular thing or a sometimes thing?
Yeah, it depends on kind of the setting. I mean, you know, that was our show, so we were able to kind of take it a bit further, and it was in a kind of a different space, so we had more actual physical space to fill. And they're amazing, Beck and Sarah.
Yeah, they're incredible. I guess more like contemporary dance, which is really fun to work with because they do a lot of improvisation.
It's awesome.
So that's fun. But yeah, then sometimes, you know, if we're supporting somebody or in a different venue that can't, you know, have all that stuff, we just, you know,
Yeah.
go with what we've got. So
It's
Yeah.
awesome as is as well. You know, that's a big stage we have here. You guys fill it with your great vibes. It sounds insincere. I'm being sincere, but I'm sorry it didn't sound insincere.
no, I believe.
Very much enjoyed having you here. Thanks for taking the time out.
Of course, thanks.
Thank you.
Can you tell me how this all started?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm really busy with work, and my weekends are usually pretty packed as well. I try to get to the gym, but I just really wasn't managing my time properly, and I was losing contact with my friends, and it just got to a point where I just knew it couldn't go on, so I decided to do something about it.
So, what did you do?
I got a governess.
A governess. That's unusual. Where did you find her?
Funny story, actually. A friend of a friend was renovating their house and found her in a wall.
And how much do you pay her?
Nothing.
And you're okay with that?
She won't speak to you.
Why not?
You're not married.
Could you maybe ask her?
Sure. Are you okay that I... Yeah, all she needs is access to a roof and a Bible. Yep, and a piece of cheese every 12 months. So, works out great for me. It's a piece of cheese every year and she lives in the roof.
In the attic?
No, the roof.
Like a crow.
Okay. How has having a governess improved your life?
Oh, it's been great. I now have a routine. So, every morning I wake up at 4 a.m. and pray until sunrise. And what's next?
Ice bath.
Yep, then I have an ice bath for an hour. Then it's,
Oils.
yep, tablespoons of oils.
Owl oil, trout oil, weasel oil.
And then it's lessons. So this week I've been learning about how mirrors are a sin. What's next?
Beating.
She beats me for an hour and then gets me dressed and sends me off to work. Yeah, and then when I get back from work, she's usually got a fire going in the sink, which I've asked her not to do. And then it's the same routine again. Oh, and every now and then we reenact seminal scenes from cinema.
Great. What else do you...
What's your dog's name?
Max?
Hey, Janelle, what's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking. Is he okay?
Wolfie's fine, honey. Where are you?
Your foster parents are dead. Let's go.
See. We love James Cameron.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me.
Thank you.
Steady. Can't you see? Easy. Steady. 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 Steady.
Now, I'll admit something. I'm vain. I'm quite vain. You may not know it from my somewhat scruffy appearance, but I'm interested in looks and like feeling young and stuff. I'm in my mid-30s. I heard about this thing where you kind of clear your lymph nodes, and I looked up and there's all these like video clips on YouTube of women in their 50s that their faces are like, they look like they're like lying upside down. They're like, and all they do are these facial exercises, and I'm going to show you some of them now. The ones I'm going to show you clear some kind of lymph things or glands. I don't know the science, but I don't even know if it works, but it makes me feel good. So you start with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Along the bottom of your collarbone, so 10 of them. Then you start under your ears and you go like that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then you do your along your jawbone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great way to brush like bits of fluff off your face too, if you haven't washed your face yet. And then you do like, you put your fingers on the sides of your ears. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can actually feel fluid draining down the back of my throat. 10 of them. Then you do 10 above your eyebrows. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you do it all backwards. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. And even though this is probably not doing anything to my face or making any difference, I just feel like it is. And that really is all that matters to me. 8, 9, 10. Almost finished. 2. I do this in the shower. I do it in the car. At the lights. People probably think I'm crazy. 10. So that's a little thing you can do if you're feeling a bit tired or crumply in the morning. Another good pressure point for clearing fluid in the face is here. Find the sore spot and hold on to it as long as you can. You can do that on both hands. And another one is if you're just interested in clearing the bags under your eyes, going like that along your eyebrows. And also there's pressure points on the cheekbones that you can press to kind of wake up areas of your face. So yeah, for all those vain bitches out there, lap it up.
So I am a comedian and sometimes playwright, performance maker, performer, all sorts of things. My dad tells people that I'm a dentist because he thinks it's funny. But occasionally when I go home, I will have people ask me how the dentistry is going. I first started doing stand-up comedy when I was like 15, and I used to do that at like school variety nights and local concerts and stuff like that.
I want to try, Labite, to make things right, because you suit me to a T, Rex, and I Gondwana hold your hand.
I work in a company called Post. We have been making theatre for ages, and we sort of started doing that when I was 18. The stuff that we do, it sits more in like a contemporary theatre world, but we've done it in more sort of traditional theatre settings like Belvoir or STC, where people are expecting like a plot. We don't really do that. We do kind of non-linear, non-narrative, wanky, experimental stuff, but funny. So Dave is a character that I've been doing for kind of about 5 years now, but he was sort of in the background even before that. I was in a lot of really terrible open mic rooms and seeing this sort of, it felt to me like the same guy getting up and doing the same jokes.
If I could, I would use a skinny chick as a condom for fucking a fat chick. Is how I used to start my act. But I have been informed that is offensive. At least that's what the feminazis on Twitter are saying.
So this year I got married to a gay man. We came up with the idea in Edinburgh last year. I was dressed as Dave, and Reese is quite a beautiful sort of Tilda Swinton lookalike dandy. And he actually said, oh, we look like the most fucked up gay wedding cake topper. And then we were joking about how ridiculous it is that we could technically marry each other, but neither of us can marry our partners. And so then we decided to do it. It wasn't about standing on stage and going, oh, we want to get married, because in general, like myself as a gay woman in her 30s living in this silly apartment in Potts Point, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. But it was important for us to talk about the idea of inclusivity and the idea of equality, because there are a lot of people who, unlike the Potts Point lesbians, are not okay. I'm interested in doing more stand-up, just regular stand-up, although it never really ends up that way. I also studied performance art, so I have done some pretty embarrassing things. I remember doing this particular sort of dance within this tube of Vegemite that had like holes in it, so that it was sort of reminiscent of when you have two Vita Weeks and you squeeze them together and the worms come out. And I've also stood on stage and just told jokes about like farts, which is kind of ridiculous as well when you're standing in a room full of adults. That's probably why my dad tells people I'm a dentist.
Hey Leroy. Hey buddy. Don't be scared, it's just me, Salty. Oh, hello. Hello. Here on the television. Smile. Smile.
All right. Hi, we're at Coburg RSL and I'm talking to Olivia, also known as Olympia.
How you going?
Good. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, have you always been a mad shred dog, or did you sell your soul to the devil at some point?
I don't know, it just happened. I didn't really realise I was till someone #Slayer on my an Instagram post recently. You know, I wasn't very cool and just hung out by myself and listened to guitarists. I was just under the radar, and it gave me heaps of time to practice my C scale, which has come in handy.
My favourite guitarist is Brian May from Queen.
I thought you were going to say me. I really thought that's where that was going.
You're my second favourite guitarist. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've worn a jumpsuit today because I thought you were going to be wearing a jumpsuit. I thought we were going to match.
I think this is much better. I like this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But you're not dressed as me.
Yeah, this was all I had.
It looks great.
Thank you.
No problem. So one thing I noticed when listening to your music is that it doesn't remind me of anyone else, which I think is really cool. It's unique and
that's
interesting.
That's quite a compliment.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Who are you influenced by?
Well, I mean, I grew up, my mum was pretty strict Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So, we used to listen to terrible Christian music, like that song, Why Does the Devil Have All the Good Music? And my dad made us flying V's out of wood, like we didn't even have real guitars.
Flying V is such a devilish guitar, though.
Yeah, I know, but it didn't have strings, so I guess that was the compromise. And then, my brother used to listen to Silverchair, and Mum used to listen to Andrew's Sisters and Bob Marley, and Dad, like funk. And then I listened to world music.
Wow, that's quite a melting pot.
Yeah, more music the merrier. The more you listen to music, the less you have to think about who you are as a person. You should put that on a calendar.
Good slogan.
Yeah.
I can't remember what you said, but it was profound.
It was good, yeah.
You're writing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
How do you write? Do you sing gibberish and then make words from it, or do you collect individual lines and stick things together?
I'm like a sponge. I like to go to the library and eavesdrop on conversations. Teenagers are the best because they say the most unfiltered things, and I'll just write down in my phone things people have said, or, read a fantastic poem by Mary Carr or something, and I'll photocopy it and put it on the wall. And if my label's watching this is why I work so slowly.
Yeah, because that's a pretty involved process. So stop cracking the whip, label. Give her a fucking break. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Was that too hard on
No, that was good. I led you there.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for taking it home.
No problem. I would like to thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure and a privilege. I'm going to say
Pleasure. Privilege. You're a mad shred dog. I hope you have a wonderful time the rest of your day.
Thank you.
And in life in general.
Great. Oh, thank you very much.
Forever.
I'll put that on my calendar.
For eternity.
You can have...
Yeah, just lots of ...
You're talking now, basically.